Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Kreadiv and welcome back to another episode of Kreadiv'S Guide to Kensei. In this episode, I'm going to be talking over more of my basic Kensei mix-ups. I'm just going to be covering what I normally do since these guides that I'm releasing are initially on how I play Kensei. And towards the end of the guides, I'll talk more about on how Kensei is played at high level. And I'll show a little bit of that today as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. Just a quick recap. In the last episode, I talked about Kensei's strengths and weaknesses, and the double pump and pommel strike mix-up. Check it out in the description below. One quick thing I want to cover as well that I see a lot in the comments is the difference between soft feint and hard feint. Soft feints are initially built into your character's moveset, where you can cancel a heavy into another attack or dash. A hard feint is where you actually have to manually cancel the attack yourself. Before we get into the mix-ups, I want to go over light parries. You get 40 damage off of a light parry by throwing a heavy. I personally prefer to start my mix-ups off of a parry, whether it's heavy or light. On a heavy parry, you get a 20 damage light if you want to go for the double pump, or get a 17 damage light off of a helm splitter unblockable mix-up. For example, I go into a helm splitter unblockable mix-up after a heavy parry, soft feint into a side heavy. This is one thing that I actually do every time I do an unblockable, is I always soft feint and feint the side heavy. If you watch my videos, then you know that I prefer to do the double pump after a heavy parry. I rarely ever go into the unblockable mix-up just because it's easy to counter, it's easy to predict. And the hard truth about Kensei's offense is that it's actually pretty weak, which is why I decided to just have fun with the offense and came up with the Nature's Wrath mix-up. One of the questions I get asked the most is why I never use the top heavy soft feint into light. And the reason for that is it's very easy to counter. I normally only do this when I see a top heavy indicator, as they think I threw a top light, or they like to dodge early. As you can see, it's very easy to parry this attack, so it's not worth throwing out for 12 damage. So if you run into an opponent like this raider, definitely don't throw that side light. What I prefer to do is a top heavy soft feint into heavy. I find that this catches people off guard quite often. But if your opponent is ready for it, it's a pretty easy parry, so just be wary of that. To counter that, you can either guard break, parry, or you can do the helm splitter into Nature's Wrath, double pump, unblockable mix-up, or even pommel strike. It all depends on the type of opponent you fight. Now I want to talk about my helm splitter into Nature's Wrath mix-up. This mix-up, like I said in the previous episode, really relies on your opponents reacting. If they don't react, then it's most likely going to get countered. And it is possible to counter it even after reaction with certain heroes. To do this mix-up, it's just hard feint heavies into helm splitter, and then switch it up to Nature's Wrath. You can do double feints on the sides or switch up the sides. No mix-up will work 100%, not even the double pump. I actually have stamina regeneration on to demonstrate the mix-up, but the most optimal way to do this mix-up is from Swift Strike. When it lands, you can get 57 damage. And here's an example with stamina regeneration off. This is a very stamina heavy mix-up, so be very careful when you decide to try this out. I also just want to say, and I know a lot of console players will hate me for this, but Swift Strike is the second best way to start the unblockable mix-up. You get 20 damage instead of 17. You all know how I feel about the unblockable mix-up, so this is actually what I normally do. I do a Swift Strike into a hard heavy feint. Total 45 damage. Against certain opponents, the helm splitter mix-up won't work. you'll just get hit by the heavy. The only time it'll work is if the Centurion holds down his heavy. One of my favorite matchups as Kensei is Highlander. I'm able to trade with the Helm Splitter mix-up. So it's just a Helm Splitter into a side heavy. This does take practice, so just be very careful. If you do it too early, you won't be able to activate your hyper armor. A good way to apply pressure to an out of stamina opponent is to do an unblockable mix-up. This is really easy to do off of a out of stamina parry. It's just a top light, top heavy into unblockable. I always like to hard feint that heavy, that side heavy, just to catch people trying to parry. You can also do this off of a guard break, but it just takes practice. You gotta delay the top light. The hard truth about Kensei's mix-up and offense is that it's pretty weak, especially for duels. In fours, he does a lot better in fours than in brawls, but I just wanted to show you guys an actual high-level match between me and this Reputation 47 Kensei. You'll notice that we're not doing a lot of mix-ups, like I'm not going to be doing the Helm Splitter mix-up, but I do this top heavy into heavy mix-up right here, and he falls for it. And he falls for that, but I didn't capitalize on that. At a high level, Kenseis pretty much have to rely on the top heavy mix-ups, especially the pommel strike mix-ups. He didn't fall for that double pump there. That actually surprised me. And I tried to option select that, but he was prepared for it. And this is why I don't do the unblockable mix-up. That was an easy counter. So right here is when I notice he's going to do a top heavy, and I option select that. We're both pretty much playing the same game right now. He parries that, and I just block. The reason I didn't react to anything there is because I wanted to just make sure that he wasn't going to throw out a light. I just mimicked him there. So this Kensei actually is, you know, he knows the character pretty well, and he knows how to parry and everything, so playing safe in order to win this duel was my only option. And here's why, yeah. Doing that light after an unblockable, even from the top heavy starter, it's just not really reliable. It's able to win this round though. Don't let it discourage you guys if you guys are trying to get into Kensei. Kensei at high level is more really about the mind games. Most people will look at it as turtling, but it's more about trying to open up your opponent with the same tools that your opponent has, especially if it's a Kensei mirror match. In my opinion, Kensei is more of a counter-attacker. And by this point in the fight, I actually noticed that this guy is pretty much expecting my option select. So right here is where I do a top light. That's another option for if your option selects aren't working. I pretty much just wanted to show you guys, you know, be 100% honest with how Kensei is played at high level. It is possible to land those mix-ups I showed earlier at high level, but it takes quite a bit of experience and knowledge of your opponent in order to hit those. But pretty much like I keep telling everyone, just keep playing. If you want to get better at Kensei, just keep playing Kensei. And you'll get there and surpass me soon enough. And that marks the end of episode 2 to Kreadiv'S Guide to Kensei. I'm pretty sure there's still more that I want to cover on mix-ups, but I do want to keep each episode to the guide around 10 minutes. So if there's anything you want me to cover in the next episode, or you think I missed anything, please leave comments below. This is still, my first guide to Hero on For Honor. But with that being said, I hope you all have a good one, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Peace.